Hey everyone, it's September 4th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share with Australian serial killer John Justin Bunting, known for committing the bodies in barrels murders, claiming 11 victims in the 1990s. And that is him right up there. Bunting was born in 1966 in South Australia and suffered from sexual and physical abuse from a friend's older brother at the age of 8. This abuse seems to have altered the course of his life entirely, with psychologists later classifying him as a psychopath who is unable to feel any empathy towards others. He also acted out as a child, dipping insects in acid to watch them suffer, and as a young man took work at a slaughterhouse, telling friends that he really enjoyed killing the animals. In 1991, he began to assemble a group of followers who all believed as he did that suspected pedophiles deserved to be tortured and murdered. Bunting was married at the time, and his wife and her son were the first to be drawn into his web, but he eventually amassed a group of a half-dozen followers who would do as he told. He began to put together profiles of men he suspected of being pedophiles, but the key word is suspected, since there was little evidence that any of them actually were. Much like the meme of Charlie Day, he profiled them on a rock spider wall where he drew out their relationships. Bunting began to act out on his obsessions in 1992 when he invited one of these men to his home to visit, then bashed him to death with a shovel and buried him in a shallow grave. It was 3 years later before he acted again, but he and his group were just getting started. He accused a mentally disabled man of making sexual advances towards the grandsons of an acquaintance, and the group tortured and killed him before burying his body in a garden. They then killed the acquaintance and wrapped her remains in 11 plastic bags and collected her pension by impersonating her. The group next targeted gay men, falsely believing them to be pedophiles, and engaged in horrific torture of their victims, sometimes crushing their toes with pliers, applying shocks to their genitals, and frying and eating parts of some victims. I think it's safe to say that no matter what you believe the problem is, cannibalism is never the answer. They left 8 bodies in barrels filled with hydrochloric acid, which it turns out mummified the victims instead of dissolving them as was intended. They eventually moved the barrels to an abandoned bank building in Snowtown, Australia. All told, there were 11 murders that took place between 1992 and 1999. Police began investigating a series of mysterious disappearances in Australia in 1995, and eventually realized nearly all of them were connected to Bunting and his close-knit group of friends in some way. The group was arrested and the bodies and barrels were discovered, with the case leading to the longest and most expensive trial in Australian history. 4 of his crew were convicted of murder, and all reports indicate that Bunting was indeed the ringleader. They are now all serving life sentences without the possibility of parole. This case was the inspiration for the 2011 horror film Snowtown. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to John Justin Bunting, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.